What's up, everybody? Matt Gajewski here, back again talking college football. And today we are breaking down Colorado ahead of the 2025 season. If you like this content, please consider liking or subscribing. Those two things help a small channel like this a ton. You'd be shocked even what a like does towards getting us in front of other viewers. So thank you if you've done that. If I miss anything on Colorado or you have any feedback, please let me know in the comments. Or if you just want to see some other team we haven't broken down just quite yet. But let's look at last year before we dive into the upcoming season. Fantastic step forward for Colorado. Again, sometimes people forget this team was the worst team in, at the time, the Power Five before Deion Sanders took over. And they take another jump under Deion. Offense was top 25. Passing game was third overall in efficiency. That'll happen when you have Shedeur Sanders. Receiving game was 10th overall, which will happen when you have Travis Hunter. The offensive line was actually slightly above average, which they took a lot of heat last year, and there's no doubt they had their struggles at times. They definitely allowed more pressure than probably Shedeur Sanders wanted, but it's a two-way street. They had long developing route concepts, Shedeur Sanders holding onto the ball for a long time. Sacks are a two-way street. The offensive line has to allow them, and the quarterback can also hold onto the ball for a long time, putting his offensive lineman in position to potentially allow more pressures, which is definitely something that happened last year. But lost in all this, the defense took a massive step forward. They were 34th overall, and it wasn't just the coverage unit. That unit was great. They were 13th. But this was basically an above-average run defense, pass rush across the board. And all of that is evidenced in the final record for Colorado, finishing 9-4. Their losses coming to Nebraska, Kansas State by 3 points, Kansas, and BYU. It was a great season for Deion Sanders. He's now in year 3. His record overall is 13-12. But we already mentioned the improvement all the way to 9-4 last year. They were a couple plays away from making the Big 12 championship. As far as some of their wins, was there any noise there? The answer is not really, especially once the season wore on. They had single-digit wins over North Dakota State and Baylor, that North Dakota State game being in week 1. The rest of their games, they won by double digits. Colorado State, UCF, Arizona, Cincinnati, Utah, Oklahoma State. They had a lot of beat-down wins. And this team is definitely building. Now they enter a year of transition with the NFL players that are gone, but they have some continuity on their coaching staff. Last year, they did not. Pat Shurmur returns for his second year as full-time OC. I'm not sure what the offense is exactly going to look like. Last year, they were basically running 4 wide, passing the ball at the 3rd highest rate in the country. But Shurmur has done a lot of different stuff from his time in the NFL, especially with a new QB, and some of the receivers are gone, basically all the starters. I think this might be a little run heavier, maybe a little more 11 personnel, so less 4 wide. Last year, Colorado only used motion on 22% of their snaps, so probably a little bit more than that. And at the very least, I think you can expect a more balanced attack. Defense, Robert Livingston is back as DC. He took the job last year, and they took an awesome step forward. He previously coached safeties for the Bengals for 5 years before he took the Colorado job, but we already mentioned it, all the way up to 34th in defensive efficiency. It was a great step forward, and now we will look to see what Colorado can accomplish this year. But first, talent acquisition, not really a problem for Colorado. They're just unconventional. We know this team will attack the transfer portal going all the way back to Deion's first year there, where he had the #1 portal class. Last year, they were 8th. This year, they're 19th. Recruiting is all over the board, but they do have a pair of classes right around that top 30 mark. This year, they're 38th, which is 4th in the Big 12. Deion's first year, they were 30th, which was 3rd. Retention can be a problem, but it's maybe not as much of a problem as other teams just because Deion is such a draw. And part of the thing with this is, you get 5 stars and 4 stars like Cormani McClain, who clearly don't live up to expectation with the program. Like, Deion is cutting bait with them immediately. He's not sticking with them, and he's bringing in other talent right behind it. So I almost think the retention might not be as important for Deion Sanders and this Colorado team as they're currently constructed, but he's had no problem bringing in either elite transfers or high-level recruits. There are a number of them again this year, a lot of them coming at skill position players, but even a guy like Jordan Seaton on the offensive line. They're bringing in talent at one of the highest rates in the conference. With that, a lot of change this year. Let's take a look at the changes and what the roster looks like ahead of 2025. Here is our data usage tool. You can find this in the Discord link below. We have all the transfers in yellow, a little bit less in the transfer portal this year. We have the year they are in school, the snaps they played the last 2 years, a recruiting ranking, that's just whatever star they were coming out, and then a value score, which looks first at your recruitment, then the more snaps you play, looks at your play on the field. Less at the recruiting, more on-field play. Think of 50 as your average starter, and then it's on a scale up to 100 all the way down to 0 from there. Replacing Shedeur Sanders, definitely no easy task, but they bring in 2 capable signal callers. The first is a transfer, Caden Salter. He comes over from Liberty, originally a 4-star recruit with Tennessee. He's been a starter the last 2 seasons. His best year came in 2023, where he completed 61% of his passes, 2,876 yards. That was 9.9 yards per attempt, 32 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 26 big-time throws, 12 turnover-worthy plays, and over 1,000 rushing yards at 6.7 yards per carry. Only took 9 sacks. Amazing season for Caden Salter. Last year, he took a slight step back, as did Liberty as a whole. His completion percentage dropped to 56%. Yards per attempt dropped to 7.2. Touchdown to interception dropped 15 touchdowns, 6 picks. Big-time throws down to 19. Turnover-worthy plays up to 14. And his rushing yards were basically cut in half, down to 579 at 5.1 yards per carry. His sacks also doubled. He took 20 of them. Now, a lot of stuff changed in that offense. He lost many receivers heading into last year. His new crop dropped almost 12% of their passes, which was a bad mark overall. And he still finished as the 29th most efficient quarterback. So at the very least, you have a highly recruited veteran who showed the ability to win at a lower level of competition. We'll see if he can make the jump upwards. But I think most people view the ceiling for this program largely coming down to their 4-star freshman, Julian Lewis. There have been reports coming out of Boulder that they will play 2 QBs this year. I wouldn't be surprised. But what those reports really mean is that you might see a 2 QB system, which is not like, all right, we start with Salter. If things don't go well, we bench him for Lewis. The 2 QB system means like maybe 1 series Salter, 1 series Lewis, 1 half Salter, 1 series Lewis until one of them emerges, which we haven't seen Deion do that, obviously. Some teams usually try to. I'm not sure how it would go, but the one thing you can say is they are both talented. Third stringer Ryan Staub is back. He should just be just that at this point. Running back, they lose Isaiah Auguste, but they return a lot. One thing that has been a talking point this offseason is, can we get better production out of the running game? And I think there's a chance. They start with Michael Welch. He carried for 186 yards last year. That was 4.3 yards per carry, caught 8 passes. That was as a freshman, 5'9", 205. He got hurt at the end of last year. Decent efficiency. I think he's a good place to start, but you're likely looking at a committee with Dallin Hayden. The former Ohio State 4-star is 5'10", 205. He only rushed for 3.1 yards per carry, but he did catch 17 passes. He had a good season back in 2022 with Ohio State for 553 yards. But neither of these guys were particularly efficient. The offensive line was better in the pass game than the run game. So we'll see what they give you. There's still Charlie Offerdahl, the former walk-on. He actually was more efficient than anyone else in that backfield at 4.6 yards per carry, which is not a good thing. They add to Kalen Taylor from Incarnate Word as a transfer. He's a very small back, 5'9", 166. Was efficient down there, but I mean, we're just not dealing with a lot of really productive or high-level transfers for this team. We'll see what they give you, but right now, not super optimistic. There's a lot in the backfield. And if you want to look at depth pieces down here, they're not really that much deeper at running back besides that. The other thing is receiver is still very deep, so I'm not sure your pass rate really can go down that much. This is your best position on offense. Even losing Travis Hunter, LeJontay Wester, Will Shepard, Jimmy Horn, they have been smashing this in terms of recruiting the last 3 seasons. We'll start with incumbents before we get to this freshman class, but 4-star junior Omarion Miller is back. He was hurt a lot of last year, but he's 6'2", 195. He has 21 catches over the last 2 seasons. Perimeter receiver, his yards per route is at 2.34. He's been extremely efficient. He's back. You have a 4-star sophomore in Draylon Miller. He played 301 snaps last year, 6'1", 195, 32 catches for 277 yards. Played more in the slot, 1.31 yards per route. Two awesome receivers of high four-star recruiting to begin with. Then they go out and they slam the transfer portal. Joseph Williams from Tulsa, Jack Hessetera from Utah State, Hakeem Williams from Florida State, and Sincere Brown from Campbell. I think at best, one of these guys starts, maybe two. Your most likely candidates are Joseph Williams. He played a lot as a freshman last year with Tulsa. He's 6'2", 195, 30 catches for 588 yards. That was 2.25 yards per route. 99% of the time he was playing on the perimeter too. From there, I think maybe you see Hakeem Williams. He's a former five-star at Florida State. But the real indictment on him is he couldn't really find a way on the field at Florida State, and Florida State was horrible last year. He's 6'2", 215, 16 catches, perimeter receiver, but only 1.07 yards per route. You'd really need the offense to rehabilitate this player because we've seen two dreadful seasons from Hakeem Williams at this point. And then Sincere Brown's from the FCS. He's 6'5", 185, caught 61 catches, over 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns. But people will look at the Campbell receiver and think, all right, he's just going to come up and play. One honest mistake people usually make is people play in the FCS for a reason. When they come up to, especially the Power 4 now, things go poorly. And with Brown, unfortunately for him, he played with South Florida for 3 seasons before he went to Campbell. 1 catch. I don't know, man. I don't know. 1 catch in college football before going down to the FCS, it's just not great. Hessetera is a former walk-on with Colorado. He's bounced around the country since then, played at Utah State and Charlotte. He's not going to be a factor. And I kind of throw some shade on these receivers that come in via transfer because they go out and they add 3 4-star freshmen. Quanell Farrakhan, that one's a hard one. Quentin Gibson and Cam McKell are all with the program now. Farrakhan has played with the first team during the spring, at least part of the time. Gibson, he's also played with the first team through part of the spring. He handled the opening kickoff in the spring game. McKell's also flashed, and there have been some rumblings that they might move him to running back, just with the room being a little lighter and this receiver room for Colorado being extremely deep. I mean, the ceiling of your team clearly comes down to what you're going to get out of both Millers, Treylon, and Omarion. Both of them have played a lot and played well. And then do we need to piece this together via transfer, or can we rely on a 4-star freshman in Farrakhan or Gibson who both flashed with the first team and throughout the spring, maybe even McKell if he's not playing running back or a different position? Because your transfers have all disappointed or played at low levels of competition to this point. That's not even all. They still have Isaiah Harge, who's a sophomore now. He played 26 snaps. We have Terrell Timmons back. The NC State transfer was a little banged up last year. He's still on the roster. I mean, even without the players at the top, Wester, Horn, Hunter, this unit has at least 5 4-stars, 1 5-star. They're just unproven, but very few programs in the country are stacking talent like this at wide receiver, which is another reason I think maybe you probably don't see this team embrace the run as much as the coaches say they want to. Your best position is receiver. And from there, they talked about playing 11 personnel, maybe some 12 personnel, using more tight ends. I'm just not sure you have the players to do that. You have Savell Smalls back. He played 303 snaps last year. He's kind of an interesting player. He was originally a 5-star defensive recruit for Washington, but couldn't get on the field. So Colorado takes him in the portal. They move him to tight end, caught 9 passes, 260 pounds, but not very good as a blocker. Behind him, like walk-on Brady Coppitz played 9 snaps. They had Zach Atkins from Northwest Missouri State. He played in D2 when he only caught 18 passes. I mean, do we even have the tight ends to play more? 11 personnel, 12 personnel? The way the roster is comprised, the answer is no, but they keep saying they want to. We'll see, and that's not because, I really dislike this tight end room, and I think they should run 4 wide just because they had success last year. Their best players on offense are at receiver. It doesn't make a lot of sense to use these tight ends. Offensive line, it was a little bit of musical chairs last year, less than 23, but now this unit has a lot of players returning combined with an influx of portal talent. 5-star left tackle Jordan Seaton is back. He played immediately last year as a freshman, and it was up and down, played 860 snaps, but graded out well as a pass blocker. One contextual thing with the offensive line before talking about the pressures allowed, Colorado threw the ball more than almost any team in the country. So when we talk about raw pressure numbers, don't be alarmed if you see like 30. They had like double the dropbacks of some teams. Second, Shedeur Sanders held on to the ball for a long time. So some of these are pressures that were based on his play, not the offensive line. So with Seton, he allowed 30 pressures. Only 3 of those turned into sacks. His pass blocking numbers were actually above average despite allowing 30 pressures, and that's a commonality with some of these players. But now you get the 5-star entering year 2 at left tackle. That's a fantastic place to start. Their right tackle, Phillip Houston, is also back. Played 575 snaps. He was good in the run game, not so much as a pass blocker. He played about 2/3 of the snaps as Seton and allowed the same amount of pressures. Then 5 of them turned into sacks. But he did start with FIU before coming to Colorado, and overall he was improved. But I don't think you need him. They add a slew of transfers, the first one being Xavier Hill. He's a 2-year starter with Memphis, including left tackle, right tackle. He originally was an LSU recruit, but he only allowed 14 pressures and 2 sacks over the last 2 years. I think there's a good chance he's your right tackle, but he should start somewhere on the O-line. Depth is pretty good. Mana Tamani comes in from Ole Miss. He has 37 snaps, guard and tackle both. Larry Johnson comes in from Tennessee, 133 snaps, mostly at left tackle, good as a pass blocker. Walker Anderson, probably a depth piece, but he comes in from UCLA, was a 0-star recruit, but he is 6'8" with a monstrous wingspan, more of a potential developmental piece. And lastly, Andre Roy Jr. from Maryland. I don't know why he came to Colorado. 434 snaps, 19 pressures, horrifying as a pass blocker. I'd be shocked if he plays, but you never know. It's good to have the depth. I think Roy probably should have went to, like Miami, Ohio or something, not Colorado. They also have a 4-star freshman in Card Smith, who's a tackle. That's all just tackle. At guard, there's a similar pattern of returning production with transfers coming in. Tyler Brown played 637 snaps last year, originally Louisiana, then Jackson State. He had decent pass blocking numbers, 20 pressures, only 1 sack. Not the best run blocker, so you could see him potentially get beat out. Wouldn't be terribly surprised, but he's at least an average starter. Kareem Harden played 337 snaps last year. He has 703 snaps the last 2 years, most of that at right guard. 20 pressures in that span on the 703 snaps, but he improved year over year, decent run blocker. But there are potential replacements. Zy Chrysler comes in from Illinois. He originally played at JUCO, but he's a 3-year starter. A little better as a pass blocker, only 10 pressures are allowed last year. The only thing holding him back was run blocking was below average. He could play any of your guard spots. Aki Ogunbayi from Texas A&M played 654 snaps the last 5 years, mostly average, but he's a depth piece at guard. Cooper Lovelace, originally a JUCO guy, went to USC, then to Northwestern, finally started last year at left guard. He was pretty decent. 18 pressures, 1 sack, better as a run blocker. That's like 6 guard options, and 5 of them have starting experience. Center is your weakest position, and that was kind of because Cash Cleveland hit the portal after the spring window. I think they were planning on him being there. They go out and they add Zarian McGill from Louisiana Tech. He's another JUCO kid originally, but he started for 2 years at Louisiana Monroe at center, last year at Louisiana Tech, so 3 years of starting experience. The past 2 years, he has 14 pressures and 2 sacks combined. Good place to start, just not the deepest position at center. Maybe you just kick one of those guards in and use them. This offensive line is pretty good. It's definitely above average. I'm not sure what the overall ceiling is, but they're the days where you can complain about the Colorado offensive line. Last year, 2023, certainly you could complain. Last year, it started to become a little bit of a stretch without people realizing Shedeur played a part in that. This year, unless something catastrophic happens, I think the days of you being able to complain about this unit are pretty much gone. Defensive line, they lose BJ Green off the edge, a couple rotational guys. They had some guys redshirt and transfer. First place to start, they get back former Pitt transfer Samuel Okunlola, who played 452 snaps. Pretty good overall, 23 pressures, good run defense, 30 tackles, 7 tackles for loss. Not elite, but definitely above average starting play from him. They also get back Arden Walker, who was really efficient on 385 snaps. He had 27 pressures, 33 tackles, 7 tackles for loss himself. He's a former Missouri transfer. Depth pieces Keaton Wade and Quincy Wiggins are back. Wade played 105 snaps, and the only reason he played that few was because of injury. He got hurt in fall camp. Former Kentucky four-star, was good with Kentucky back when he played there. And then Wiggins is a former LSU four-star, more of like a five technique, a bigger bodied guy. But I mean, he can definitely play. Then you have a four-star freshman in London Merritt. I mean, this edge group is like five deep at this point. Inside, they lose Chidozie Nwankwo and Shane Cokes, but they hit the portal here. They bring in Jaheim Otis from Alabama, Tavian Coleman from Texas State, and Gabriel Lightfoot from Fresno. Otis from Alabama, he only played in 4 games last year, 2 preservers, redshirt, just very deep rotation there, and he was going to be a bigger part of it. He has 600 snaps for Alabama the 2 prior seasons, good run defense numbers, 20 pressures. Just wanted to potentially make some additional money for himself, potentially as an NFL pick by playing in a full-time role. He wasn't going to get that at Alabama. Coleman comes over from Texas State. He's well-traveled. He's been to JUCO, Utah State. He started the last 2 years with Texas State, 295, good run defender. Pretty good pass rush numbers, too. 24 pressures, not bad. Lightfoot should be a depth piece. He's played over 1,100 snaps at Fresno State the last 3 years, but a rotational piece, was below average in the Mountain West. It shouldn't matter a ton because you have Otis and Coleman up at the top via transfer, and you get back 441 snaps from Amari McNeil and 220 snaps from Ankeen Barnes. McNeil originally played at Tennessee. Last 2 seasons at Colorado, he has 850 snaps, 28 pressures from the interior. Barnes is a former Alabama transfer, and while he hasn't quite lived up to expectation, he can be your 4th or 5th defensive tackle and play a handful of snaps of you per game, if you even need that, because they recruited a 4-star last year in Brandon Davis Swain. They recruited a 4-star this year in Christian Hudson. I mean, compared to 2 years ago, this defensive line is stacked. For a Big 12 team, I think people aren't quite realizing what Colorado has in the chamber as far as talent. Linebacker, this one might be a little weaker, and I still think it'll be fine. They lose Nikai Hill-Green and Levante Bentley, as well as a couple depth pieces. It's going to be a portal job. They bring in Martavius French from UTSA, Reginald Hughes from Jacksonville State, Sean Myers from North Alabama, and Kylan Salter from TCU. Starting with French, the former UTSA transfer is a 2-year starter. Last year, he led the team with 80 tackles and 17 tackles for loss. Not the best in coverage, but not bad either. 82% completion percentage, 189 yards, and 2 PBUs. He's a good starter, just needs to jump in competition, as does Reginald Hughes, who couldn't get on the field at Ole Miss, so he transfers down to Jacksonville State, 4th on that team with 82 tackles, 2nd on the team with 10 tackles for loss. And decent in coverage, 70% completion percentage for 47 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. He was good. Myers, the North Alabama transfer, he got hurt in 2024, but he started the 2 prior seasons, was largely average, big jump from the FCS. Salter, he transfers over after spending his freshman season with TCU. He's now a redshirt freshman, didn't play a snap. They also have Jeremiah Brown, who was already on the team. 72 snaps from him. He goes all the way back to Deion's Jackson State days, but hasn't started since then. Lower level guys, unproven guys, so linebacker might be a bit of an issue. We will see. They at least added multiple players to give this an element of competition. Defensive back, there's no way around it. You can't really lose Travis Hunter, Cameron Sillman, Craig, and Shiloh Sanders and be the same, but I don't think they're going to take a big step back. They were top 20 unit last year, so I think you might be looking more in the top 50 range, but still decent. Boundary corner, DJ McKinney is back. He's a solid player. Started the last 2 seasons, originally an Oklahoma State transfer. Last year, he was 4th on the team in tackles at 62. Allowed 315 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 7 PBUs in coverage. Good player. Preston Hodge was the nickel. He's back. He started at Liberty, and now he's been with Boulder. He played 584 snaps last year. Largely average, but that was mainly because he missed 12 tackles. In coverage, 528 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 4 PBUs. So while he makes some big plays, he allows them to. Last year was a step back for him as he transferred from Liberty to Colorado, which makes sense given the jump in competition. I think he'll play the slot, but maybe you see a transfer, and I do think a transfer fills in the final boundary spot where you have Makari Vickers from Oklahoma, Tyrese's Davis from Wyoming, and Tion Parks from Illinois State. Vickers is a former 4-star, hasn't played a ton, but good caliber of recruitment for him. He could easily play. Davis is a smaller guy, but he did start on the boundary for Wyoming the last 2 years. Good run defender. Good pass coverage, too. Last year was a little bit of a step back, 553 yards, but quality over the last 2 years. Parks from Illinois State has 1 year starting experience. It was elite, but you never really know. A couple other candidates that were already on the roster, RJ Johnson, Ivan Yates, both played a couple snaps last year. They could play one of those corner spots as well. But losing Travis Hunter, it's just losing a top 3 NFL draft pick. It is what it is. At safety, this position is stronger, so perhaps you see Colorado play 3 safety, some big nickel, maybe kick one in the slot to ease your corner position as it transitions. They returned Carter Stoutmeyer, who played 526 snaps last year, 43 tackles, decent run defender. He was good in coverage, though. 52% completion percentage for 99 scoreless yards, no touchdowns, and 6 PBUs. They add a lot of transfers here, though. Tawfiq Byard from USF, South Florida, John Slaughter from Tennessee, Terrence Love from Auburn, and Noah King from Kansas State. First of all, Love and King are 2 former 4-stars. Love comes over from Auburn, where he played 102 snaps the last 2 years with that 4-star pedigree. King is a freshman. They flipped him from Kansas State. Hasn't played, so that's at least there as a backstop. You have the elite recruits. From there, Byard from USF, 82 tackles last year, 8 tackles for loss, good run defender, 94% completion percentage into his coverage, but only 174 scoreless yards. So while he was allowing a lot of completions, they were all standing in front of him. Slaughter only played 62 snaps with his former team at Tennessee. Did flash a little bit on them. He has good metrics, but it's just a tiny sample. But all that to say, you have more depth pieces at safety than you do at corner, so maybe you potentially use them. To give you a quick sum up of this team, the QB position is a question just because you're breaking in a new player, but you have a blend of highly recruited freshmen and a proven commodity in Caden Salter. He will be throwing to an elite receiving core behind an improved offensive line. The run game position, running back still is a question for me. Tight end, I don't think they use as much as they're saying. Defense, the strength is up front. That D-line is nasty. You're replacing a lot at corner and at linebacker, but hopefully you can create enough pressure to maybe ease your woes on the back end. At kicker, special teams, they bring in Buck Buchanan. He's a punter-kicker combo guy, but very, very weird numbers as a kicker. He won 13 of 20 on field goals, but 2 of 4 on 50 yards. So he has range, just inaccuracy problems. They also get Alejandro Mata back. He was a little more accurate, but lacked some range. Maybe you see Buchanan as like a kickoff specialist or something, but Colorado was 81st in special teams last year. I think they're going to be around average this year. I'm not sure how good their kicking game actually is. Let's take a look at the schedule, the most important factor when determining what is going to happen with these teams. Colorado starts the year off with a very, very difficult game against Georgia Tech. They're probably going to be an underdog in that game. I mean, that line's out. They are an underdog. And from there, they play Delaware and Wyoming. They should be at worst 2-1. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. They knock off Georgia Tech. I just don't think it's likely. So we'll tentatively say 2-1 for them in non-conference. Then in conference play, it's somewhat manageable. They dodge Texas Tech and Baylor, but they have to face TCU, Iowa State, Utah, Arizona State, Kansas State. Those teams are towards the top of the power rankings. I would have them a lot of basically, or ahead of most teams in this conference, except for maybe Arizona State, Texas Tech. You could make arguments about TCU and Baylor. But on top of those teams, they also face Houston, BYU, Arizona, West Virginia, all in various degrees of rebuild. Colorado's a bowl team this year, very clearly, in my opinion. If they do not make a bowl, it would be a huge disappointment. And this team has about 9-10 wins as their upside case. And it's all going to depend on how they shake out against the other teams at the top of the conference. The reason you don't see them quite as high as Arizona State, Texas Tech, there's just not as much continuity and proven play. There's a lot of highly recruited players that have not played yet, but this is a quality team, and I do not believe they're going to drop below a bowl game. I will be looking to bet them often and potentially take some overs on a win total. But that'll do it for us today. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think and who you'd like to see next. Until next time, we will see you later, and good luck.